Hello, my name is Jianchao Zhao. I'm a post-bachelor student at LANL, working in the Chemical Diagnostics and Engineering (CCD) group under the mentorship of Kwan-Soo Lee and Andrea Laboria. In this video, I would like to give you a brief overview on my project, Silicate's Sequestrations for Water Treatments for the 2020 LANL Student Symposium. To begin, I would like to start with a statistics about water consumptions. In 2018, over 70 million gallons of water was used for the LANL cooling towers, and this is equivalent to 107 Olympic-sized swimming pools. Such a high water consumption raised the concern about the management of the cooling systems. In fact, the tap waters in Los Alamos, New Mexico, contain about 90 ppm silicas, which is pretty high. Such a high concentrations of silicas can be problematic to the cooling towers, such as silica depositions in the heat exchangers, leading to costly maintenance, and worst case is reduced efficiencies of the cooling systems. Currently, the cooling towers at LANL can only run up to 2 to 2.5 cycles of concentrations, which means that at least 40% of waters in the cooling towers have to discharge in one cycle. This is not ideal. And the ideal efficiency is 4 to 5 cycles of concentrations. In an attempt to solve the problems, we are proposing to use polyethylene glycols as green additives in the feed water. Before getting into details, I would like to go over some general chemistries about silicates. Silicate solubilities in waters is about 100 to 150 at 25 Celsius and pH 7. Any change in factors such as pH, temperature, and the loss of water due to evaporations can affect the solubilities of silicates in water. Silicates naturally is ready to polymerize from monomer, dimer to higher order species, eventually form colloids that precipitate out of the solutions, as shown in the diagram on the left. And one of the reasons that we are very interested in PEG is that the nature of its water-soluble properties. And also, PEG is capable to have hydrogen bonding interreactions with silicates, which is likely to inhibit the silicates polymerizing process. The objective is to examine that the compatibility of polyethylene glycol PEGs in deionized waters and tap waters that contains supersaturated silicates. And then, we would like to investigate the effect of PEG's molecular weight for silicate stability, as well as to find out the concentrations effect at the most effective molecular weight of PEG. In terms of measurements, we use silicone's molybdenate blue test accompanied with the spectrophotometers to measure the silicate concentrations. And we can see the pictures on the right over there. And the top right is the spectrophotometer, and the bottom right is the samples of the blank samples and the reactive samples. And we have also performed some control experiments over trials to ensure that the accuracy with the presence of PEGs. And we can see from the tables that the additions of PEGs does not affect the silicates concentration readings. And that's good. So here's a general approach to the experiments. We were first concentrating the silicates by adding extra amounts of silicates to reach 500 ppm of the supersaturated state. Then we will adjust the pH to 8, since this is the operating pH in the cooling towers. And the next step, we would like to incorporate the PEGs to the solutions. We have also performed some trials and find out that the additions of PEGs does not change the pH of the solutions. And due to the time constraints in this video, we are selecting some results highlights to discuss. And the first one that we would like to talk about is the PEG's molecular weight effect in deionized waters. As we see in the figures on the left, This plot consists of silicate concentrations as the y-axis and the times as the x-axis. We are testing the silicate stabilities over times, varying the molecular weight of PEGs, which is 1,000s, 2,000s, 10,000s, and 20,000s molecular weights of PEGs comparing with the controls. It is showing that the silicate stabilization concentrations increase as the molecular weight of PEG increase. And the reasoning is that the higher molecular weight is able to have a higher hydrogen bond effectiveness. The higher molecular weight of PEGs is having a higher chance of PEGs interactions with the surrounding polar molecules, which is having a stronger effect on inhibiting the silicate polymerizations. From the previous slides, we can be seen that the 20K molecular weight of PEGs as the highest molecular weight outperforms in stabilizing the silicates. 20K of PEG was used by varying the concentrations from 50, 100s, 150s, and 200s ppm. So from the plot over on the left, it is a little difficult to analyze over the plot due to slightly different starting points and stabilizing concentrations. A table of percentage silicate stabilizations was used to compare, and the percent silicate stabilizations was calculated from the stabilizing concentrations over the starting points. What we see from the table is that as we increase the concentrations, we can see that the percent silicate stabilizations increase slightly. As a result, we are able to figure out that the high concentrations does show some improvement. In conclusions, we demonstrated that the effectiveness of using PEGs to increase silicate stabilizations in deionized waters. And recall from the last slide that the percent silicate stabilizations for 20K molecular weight of PEGs at 200 ppm is about 70%. And by applying PEGs to the cooling systems, if it can help raise the cycles of concentrations from 2.5 to 5, then this can probably save about 25% of annual water consumptions, and this is very good and very helpful. Here I would like to thanks to Pollution Prevention's P2 programs, especially the program managers Cassidy and Stephen. I would also thanks to my former co-workers Eamon Murphys for starting these projects. And lastly, I would also like to thanks to the polymers and soft matter teams for providing help on the result discussions and presentations preparations. Here are the references that I have used for the presentations. Thank you for listening to these videos, and I hope you could join in the Student Symposium on August 14. Thanks again.